Okay, so I'm going to do a quick little tutorial. I know a couple people have said they're having some issues with Chapter 7 with editing and stuff, and so what I'm going to do is just go over the really very most basic stuff, and hopefully it's some aspect of this that's getting you hung up, and then once you figure out what this is, you should be able to follow the instructions in the textbook and watch the videos, and hopefully it'll all make more sense and be easier for you. So, editing in ArcGIS, this is your spring break bonus lecture. So, what's our to-do list? With editing, there's a certain number of things you just got to pay attention to. You got to check your extensions. You got to check your toolbars. And then you got to remember that this whole process of editing works a little bit backwards. All these extensions and toolbars don't actually create new stuff. They only allow you to edit existing files. So if you're trying to, for example, make polygons over top of different geology layers, there's nothing there for you to edit. So you have to make an empty blank polygon that you can then edit, i.e. create the individual features in it over the things that you're trying to make. Be mindful of your edits and saving and stopping and all that sort of stuff, and I'll talk more about that at the end. So check your extensions. When I say check the extensions, this is something that you need to do once you've done it. It's usually not going to be a problem, but sometimes for some reason maybe somebody was messing around on the server and it reset something, and something that you thought was turned on is no longer on. You need to turn it on. So here's what I'm talking about and how to do it. You ask yourself, is the extensions that I need for the thing that I'm trying to do enabled? So if you go to the top of your ArcMap window, there's a Customize tab, and as you click on that, you get your little drop down menu. First thing you see is toolbars and extensions. So what I would tell you to do is click on the extensions tab first. And when it does, it'll pop up in a little window like this. It has all the different extensions that go along with ArcGIS. If there's not checkbox, if each of those boxes is not checked, then likely some of the extensions are not active, and some of the things that you may want to use, you won't be able to. So go ahead and check them now, because you're working in Citrix or at home, and this is a pretty extensive set of functions you are enabling. When you check these boxes, sometimes it takes a couple of seconds before the check mark appears. And so if you check it and then check it again because it didn't show up, you might have just unchecked it and turned it back off. So check them one at a time. Once the check mark appears, go to the next box, check it. Once it appears, go to the next one until you have all of them checked, and then when they are, simply hit the close button and close up the graphic user interface. So what do we do after we check the toolbars? I'll check to see the toolbars visible. Yeah, it is. Okay, we've got the toolbars. Same window, just like before. Click on the Customize button. It will drop down, but instead of extensions, you click on toolbars. When you click on toolbars, you'll notice that it pops up in a big long list. Now, not all of them are turned on, and you don't need all of them turned on. But if you're going to edit, you probably want to make sure that you have editor and draw, and if you're going to edit vertices on something that already exists, you probably want edit vertices checked as well. All you got to do is click on the name of the toolbar, and it will then be enabled. It'll look kind of like this after it's been enabled, and if you were to click on editor, you'll see that it looks like there's nothing going on. Do not panic. It probably looks like this for a reason. In the case of the example that I'm doing here, I have a blank map document with no data in it, so there's nothing to edit, and so all the things that are grayed out is because there's nothing there that you can run this on. So I said earlier, remember, it's a little bit of backwards, the process, so I'm going to go through it, and hopefully this will help make more sense. Some things to remember: until you have something to edit, the tools look blank. you need to make sure that the thing you want to edit is highlighted in the table of contents. Now, I think this is the case. I believe, I'm pretty sure this is in Pro, and I think it is in Desktop too. So if you don't have something highlighted, you can't really edit it. The third thing is the Edit tool does not make new features or shapefiles. You must make them in the Catalog window or in Arc Catalog. Now, I'll give you some pictures here in a bit to show you what I'm talking about. Once you prepare to do this, and you make a blank whatever it is that you're making, make sure you choose what you want to make. If you go with the default, it's going to give you points. And if you're trying to make polygons, creating a blank set of point features is of no use because you can't convert the points into polygons. So, and it's easy enough to do because that's exactly what I did when I was setting this up to do this demonstration. All you have to do is simply go back. If you make the wrong one, delete it. Go back and repeat the process. Make sure you select polygons or whatever it is that you're trying to make. Could be lines, could be points. But make sure you select the thing that you want, and it's from a little drop down. And once you do that, then when you edit, you'll have something there to work with. And what you're doing when you edit is really just drawing the features that exist inside the class that you just made that's completely empty. Also, Mary Beth Price points out that when you edit, it's best to do this in a brand new blank map with only the minimum files you need added in the table of contents. So if you have a, for example, raster data set that you want to draw polygons around some of the shapes that you see in the rasters, you only need 2 files. The one you're editing, the new blank polygon file, or feature class file, depending if you're making a geodatabase or however you're doing it, and the raster that you're going to use as a backdrop to draw your features in. So here's what we're talking about. I've now got this blank map, and I've got my editor tool there, and I've clicked on the little catalog icon right underneath the word Windows there. I got it inside the blue circle there, and when I did, that opened up the catalog pane over here on the right side of my map document, and I simply went down to the folder where I want to put this stuff and right-clicked on it. Right-clicked, went down to New, clicked on New, give me another set of menus, and I went down and I decided I was going to make a shapefile, and so I click on Shapefile. When I do, I get this Create New Shapefile GUI that pops up called New Shapefile, and the default is point. If you don't change it, you get points. So I need to just scroll down and actually select polygon. Now you see it says description unknown coordinate system. If you know what the coordinate system is that you want this in, go ahead and set it now. Otherwise, when you're doing this, it's going to fall to the default, which will likely be the other layer that you're copying from, which if that's the same coordinate system that you want, everything's fine. But if the other layer is in a geographic coordinate system and not a projected coordinate system, all your polygons and stuff are going to be really hard to deal with because they're going to be in GCS and you're not going to have lengths and areas like you would normally want, and you'd have to go through the process of projecting it later, and it's just a big bunch of mess. So figure out if you need it in a projected coordinate system, and if so, which one, and simply select it right here. And how do you do it? Well, if you were to click in this box where it says description unknown coordinate system, if you were to click on that, or go down there below where it says edit and click on that, it would pop open that same thing that we've been using since chapter 3, where you can go through and select whatever it is that you want coordinate system wise and load that up. Next thing I want to talk a little bit is about the editor itself, and basically now that you've got this blank thing created, it's time to start editing. Now once you create this blank feature class or this blank shapefile, it's going to automatically throw it into your table of contents in your existing map document that you're working on. Once there's something in there that you can edit, you will notice that your editor toolbar looks very different than what it did earlier before. You'll see that there's a bunch of things that are lit up for these various tools. But what we're going to focus on within that whole group of tools is this one here on the far right. This is the one for editing and creating new features and new stuff. And so once you click on that tool, this pops up, the Create Features tool. And it shows what you're editing, which is the thing that you had selected when you turned your editor on. And it's the new shapefile that you just made, in this case because I made one incorrectly first. This one's called new shapefile 2. And then at the bottom you see these construction tools. So if you want to make a rectangle or a polygon or a circle or ellipse or draw something freehand, or on and on and on, there's a bunch of tools. Now, typically I just select the polygon tool, but you might maybe need to do the freehand. Play around with the tools and learn how to use them. It's a combination of clicking and mousing and clicking and then double clicking when you want to finish a part or something, or double clicking in the same spot when you want to finish a feature. You just got to play around with it till you get used to it, and that's the easiest way to do it. So let's see what that looks like. There's the new shapefile. It is selected. I then selected I want to make something with the polygon tool. And it would literally just change the mouse pointer, and I could go over there and start clicking around. As I start clicking, it would start drawing the thing that's there. Of course, now obviously you probably want to draw it over the top of some background image so you can see what it is you're making. But for the purposes of what I'm talking about, this is all you really need. So, last thing in this little sort of 12-15 minute lecture here is be mindful of edits, saving, and stopping. Once you're creating edits, you have the capacity to really monkey up some stuff. And here's what I mean. When you're editing things, you can go in and just fundamentally erase a whole lot of stuff. And there's, generally speaking, not a great big undo button that you can just back up and say, oh, wait a minute, I didn't want to change all that. There sort of is, but there isn't. And I'll explain. If you've made a bunch of edits and you realize they're all wrong, simply stop editing. It'll ask you if you want to save edits and say no. And it'll go back to the existence or the status it was the last time you saved. So here's the way you should do this. As you make an edit and you're sure it's right, save it. Make another edit when you're sure it's right, save it. And on and on and on. The moment you make an edit and you screw it up, don't save it. Stop editing. It'll say, do you want to save edits? Say no, and then turn your editor back on after it stops editing, and it'll pick back up at the last point that you saved, and you'll be able to then go in and do other things. So that's the gist of it. What you want to be cautious of is the things you always want to be cautious of, that you don't have some subset of something selected, or that you don't accidentally forget to stop editing, or to accidentally forget to not save your edits, or to do all the entire exercise without saving the edits and then stop and not tell it to save, and then it just erases everything that you just done for an hour. So that's what you want to do. Make sure that you spot these opportunities to make mistakes, and then just don't make them. All you have to do is just be careful, play around, enjoy it, learn what you're doing, and be mindful. When you're editing, save the things that you do when you know you did them right. And if you're not sure and you don't want to save it, don't save it. Simply stop, and it will go back to the last time you saved. Now, if you haven't made any saves and you're 15 edits in, you're probably too late to, you're going to have to redo all of them, or you're going to have to accept the bad edit that you just made. Of course, you could do that and then go in and change just the one thing, I suppose. Lots of different ways to fix this when you make these kind of mistakes. But anyway, that's the nuts and bolts of editing. And so when you look at those other tools that it asks you to use, those are the ones that are on the editing toolbar, like the cut thing and the whatever. There's a ton of them. Play around with them, learn to use them. Watch the videos from Mary Beth Price if you need to figure out what's going on. And if you have problems, send me an email. I'm on spring break. I took my first opportunity today to actually check some stuff on my phone, seen a couple emails from some students, and decided to try to make this video to help you guys out, because I'm not going to be on campus all week. I'm getting a little R&R like most of the other students are. So hopefully this will help, and if you still have additional questions, shoot me an email. May not get back to you in a day or so, but I'll get back to you before the end of the week, I'm sure. I'm going to try to check my email again on Wednesday or Thursday, and then again towards the end of the weekend. So hopefully this will help if you're stuck. Otherwise, enjoy your spring break. That's what it's for. It's an opportunity to get caught up, to decompress, to not worry about class for a while. Okay, have a good spring break, and I'll see you next week.